Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deana. It is great to see you this Wednesday morning. Happy hump day. I'm in a different office spot and next to the Christmas tree, feeling warm and cozy, having a little technology struggle. I'm sorry I'm a minute late, but it is great to see you this morning. I forgot when we logged off on Monday, I forgot that the newest issue of ATHA Magazine was arrived, and that we always religiously go through it and look at the articles, look for work of people who are always on this thread with us, seeing what was happening in this month's ATHA. It's actually a bi-monthly, so this is for December, January. This is what it looks like. I always have to say at the beginning of these episodes, and it's redundant if you already know this, but ATHA stands for the Association of Traditional Rug Cooking Artists. It is both a magazine and like a guild. So you have a local chapter near you, depending on where you live, how remotely, there will be something there. And many people who are involved in rug hooking and rug making in general belong to these ATHA chapters because it's a great way to socialize. It can be a lot of fun, right? But that whole social aspect of ATHA is different than the magazine subscription. So whether or not you belong to a chapter or want to belong to a chapter, you could still get this great bi-monthly magazine, which is always great and a lot of fun. So that's what I want to do this morning is look at this. So let me see who's on. Mom, good morning. Good to see you in sunny, breezy, cold Granby, Connecticut. Very Christmassy day. It is. Andrea, great to see you. Andrea, I love what you sent. You were brave and bold, and I really appreciate it. It's going to be great on gallery night. Thank you so much. It was the right thing to do. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Wrapping prezzies and designing new rugs. Ooh, that sounds so good, doesn't it? That sounds so good. Doreen, good to see you. Good morning. Oh, having a great day. I'm having an okay day. That's about as good as it gets at this moment. Okay is okay is okay. Ryan, it's great to see you in North Texas. Cup of tea, Andy Warhol jigsaw puzzle. Oh, are you still sick? Oh no. Well, I'm happy that you're home and you have puzzle time, and it is a nice time of year to kind of hole up. But I'm sorry that you're sick, and I hope that you're feeling better. And how's your piece going? How's all of your crazy pieces? I love them all. Karen, great to see you. Karen posted a great video on our Facebook group yesterday, which is called Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, of hooking without a frame. Right, so a lot of people do this. We are so focused on equipment and frames and things like that, and sometimes we forget that there are options. There are always options. Just because you see other people hooking with frames or with hoops or however, doesn't mean that that's the best way for you. So Karen posted a great video of hooking with no frame. And that is something that works for a lot of people as well. We hardly ever talk about that because it's certainly it's not the majority of people who are comfortable hooking off a frame. But those who do, like Karen and Claire Murray, it works great. So entirely up to you. All preferences, right? Never judgment, just preferences. It's funny how same craft, same hands, mostly the same bodies, how everything works so differently for all of us, right? But I think part of that is the mind, right? The mind kicking in and overriding ideas and assumptions, and yeah, it's just I'm having that whole conversation with myself a lot lately because Jacob is here and he's in the studio most days and we're working together and he's working on some things that will be coming out shortly that are like newer lines, like more just breaking through that fourth wall, which is what 2023 is going to be all about. But it's just funny to be around someone who's super creative and talented that's watching the way that I do things saying like, do you need to do it like that or doesn't it make sense to do it this way? And I think, oh, like it's just so weird when you realize that you have been a robot for a really long time and not a particularly time effective robot. So that's really interesting to see. It's great to be called out on stuff. And like I always say, I love to be wrong because if I'm wrong, that means that like I have the opportunity to flip something and make something better. Or learn something new, and that is always a plus, right? That's always a positive. Robin, is it rainy, icy, and cold? Soon to be snowy in Wisconsin. I'm surprised it's not snowy already, I have to say. I don't mean to bring you bad luck or be like little Jack Frost, but I'm surprised because you usually get slammed with like extreme weather. Kirsten, good morning in Vermont. Good to see you. Linda, thank you for your Christmas card. It's over on my Christmas tree. Thank you so much. I've been getting some Christmas cards and I really appreciate it. I love them so much. I'm going to try to get some Christmas cards and return them. Wouldn't that be a grown-up thing to do? Wouldn't that be an example of adulting? Bob the Puncher in Scotland, great to see you. Good evening to you. I know it's getting on there. Candace, great to see you in Texas. I'm so glad you're there. It's been nice seeing your name pop up. April, good afternoon. Good to see you. And Cindy, good morning. Lori, great to see you. Denise, good morning. Nancy, oh, you're recovering from COVID. I hope you're feeling better. It sounds like you're on the upswing, right? If you are in the recovery point, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't realize. Get well soon, at least, right? And Crystal, good to see you. Hello, hello. From your backyard, internet connection is awful, but the sun is bright. Oh, how nice is that? When it's sunny, that changes everything, doesn't it? April, I'd love to see the video, but you're not on Facebook. Interesting. What can we do about that, Karen? Interesting. We'll have to talk about that. I wonder if I can frame it and put it up on YouTube. A lot of people are not on Facebook. It's definitely not for everybody, right? And I get that too, because most of the triggers that occur during the day for me, mentally, emotionally, are Facebook induced. Nothing in particular, just like rhetoric, yeah. I guess you have to be in a bad place to be triggered by it to begin with, right? Sherry, great to see you. I'm so happy that you're there too. You're in Upper Michigan. That's an area I'm dying to explore. Bob, you're not on Facebook either. We're gonna have to rethink this. All of these platforms, I feel like I'm like in a department store with all these like moving escalators and elevators, all these moving platforms are confusing because they are presenting lots of opportunities for people who are clever enough to understand how the platforms work and how to utilize them to their maximum effects and magic. And then there's people like me who are like, is it on? Is it on now? I mean, it's just, the learning curve for me is tremendous. But this is all stuff that I want to think about and work on in 2023, because I think we can do better with technology, and I think I need to get better with getting this brand in other places, so that we grow bigger. I don't know if you noticed, but we are about to go over 12,000 in our Facebook group. So Facebook or not, that is the biggest drug group. So that makes me really happy, because I have never bought subscribers. I'm not going to say anything more than that. I've never cheated. I've always done all of the building of both the Facebook group and the YouTube channel honestly, without taking any shortcuts. And it has been hard and slow. But finally, we are getting to a point already on Facebook where we are turning into the largest group out there, which is very nice, because the people who continue to be in at least our Facebook group, YouTube is a different platform and it's not a chat-driven platform. But at least on our Facebook group, I'm always blown away, surprised, pleased, proud, verklempt, all of that, thinking about like how nice and helpful everybody is and kind to each other. I just do not see that on other pages. And that's one of the reasons that Facebook gets me, this anonymous stupidness where people have the not only ability but proclivity to be crappy to each other. Is just a very strange place. But I never see that, thank you, Crystal, on our page. I never do. I've seen it twice in the last 3 years, and it has immediately exited forcibly. A lot of work, but it paid off. It did, Jay. It's been a lot of work ongoing. Let's keep working. So let's look at this issue of ATHA. I've got this all set for us as a slideshow. If you remember, I think in the last issue I was reading out, and I'll do it for this one too, the call outs, the shout outs that ATHA gives for future, here we go, themes, right? Themes calendar. And I remember this one, homes, like your home. So it's nice to see it come to fruition. It's nice to see that the theme being shouted out. I guess it was a little ways back, because now this is the issue that features homes. That was one of the themes that I was the most excited about, because it's so universal, isn't it? And it's a concept that everybody can attach to and understand and interpret in their own way. And that's what this issue of ATHA is filled with. It is really, really lovely. Crystal, you prefer Instagram. Yeah, you missed the whole you know what show. Yeah, you didn't say that. I'm thinking that. If it's not private, I'm sure you can go to the channel on Facebook. Yeah, oh yeah, you definitely can. I don't think it's set to, I don't know. I don't, I never know how these things work from the outside, but yeah, this is tricky. We got to figure out how to do this. And if you know, just if you can't write me here, watching this later, just send me an email if you're thinking, and really what I've got to do is start pushing over or sharing all of the posts. See, only the ones that I have I can do, though, I think. I was going to say onto like TikTok and Instagram for the different demographics. And why do we even want the different demographic? Well, because we want to live forever, right? And make sure that there is another group of ruggers who are coming up behind us who have all of our information. That is the heirloom that we give them, is all of the knowledge and information that we can share, and then they run with it and make things bigger and better and more and next. But for now, what we can do is this. So we'll have to figure that out. So shout outs for themes for the April and May issue, ATHA free patterns that you have hooked. Okay, so that's real specific. So if you have been a subscriber in the past, or you have past issues of ATHA, if you have taken out the free patterns that they give and hooked them up, that's the theme for the April-May. That's the shout out. Deadline for that is February 1st. August, September, hooking in a series. Now that is interesting, isn't it? Deadline for that is June 1st. Wow, talk about projecting forward. Next December, January, so that'd be 2024. Oh my God, don't even say it, right? From child art to rug, deadline is October 1st. I'm going to stop there because it goes right down to December of 2025, and I can't. I'm too superstitious to be thinking that far ahead. But that is the nature of the shout outs for this magazine, and it's a lot of fun if something speaks to you, to be able to send them something and hope that you see it in the pages of a really great magazine. I share my rug making on Instagram. Oh, okay, Ryan. I hope I follow you. I'm so bad with this, honestly. I just have to put some time aside to figure out how all of these things work. Sherry says, we have become such a fake people. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's just crazy, isn't it? I think about that all the time. And it's like, at this point, I'm not that close to my neighbors, just because I feel that it is like the Stepford Wives community. But when I see all their posts on Facebook, it makes me like them even less. Isn't that awful? Because that's me being judgmental. But I feel like I know what you're about, and it's not my thing. I mean, it's just so weird, isn't it, how we all present ourselves on social media? Yeah, it is hard to be authentic on social media because nobody posts pictures of themselves crying in bed, which is a big part of my life. And if I did, you'd be thinking, what is wrong with her? This is like sharing too much, TMI. So it isn't authentic. It is curated by ourselves, and then that's the scary part, isn't it? Good. I'm glad, Ryan, because I feel like a jerk if I didn't. So let's look at some of the things that came up in this ATHA issue. This is a really chock full, really nice issue. I like them all. I have to say, one of the reasons I like this one so much is because of the theme. I love the theme of home. Let's look at this way at the beginning. And as usual, I'm not going to look at 90% of it, and I'm not going to get to it all today. But, this is a Christmas Greetings, ATHA 5 region by Anne Norvell, Counting Sheep. Really, really cute. I want to look at this one first. I'm not going to share everything because I hope that you subscribe. I hope that your issue has come. And if you don't subscribe, you should subscribe. And they'll send you an issue and you can be looking at the same pages with us. So I don't want to overshare with this either because I want to be sure that we are, if we're interested in rug making and creative arts and textiles, that we are supporting ATHA because it is a worthy organization, and this magazine is top caliber. Kirsten says, Ryan, what is your... Okay, good. You're sharing all that there. Okay, so this is interesting. Let me just read this to you first, and I'm going to show you the rug that is in conjunction with this excerpt. So Anne Norvell of Counting Sheep, and this is one of these small sort of intro, there's different headings through the magazine. Different times of the year, too, will dictate what they are. So Christmas greetings, in this case. And she writes, when I discovered this beautiful antique Christmas card, it brought back so many memories. Mother always had spiced tea on the stove and sugar cookies baking in the oven. I remember racing to the mailbox to see how many Christmas cards the mailman brought that day. Our Christmas cards were strung on a string under the mantel and taped around the door frame, enhancing the holiday spirit. Do you remember colorful ribbon candy canes on the Christmas tree, and brightly colored lights that Okay, yep, this is right. That Dad had to untangle each share. Universal questions. Yes to all. Yes to all. I hope this rug pattern brings you some of those good memories back to you this holiday. And this is, I'm going to show you a slide of Christmas Greetings, was adapted from an antique Christmas card and hooked by Anne Norvell of Counting Sheep Rug Shop in Florence, Alabama. And she also has an Etsy shop. Let me bring this up and, hold on, scrolling on down. Oh, that's the cover, so that's the issue we're looking at. And this is the rug that we're talking about here, Christmas Greetings. Anne Norvell of Counting Sheep Rug Shop in Florence, Alabama. This is wool on linen, 36 by 24. And she also has an Etsy shop, and the Etsy shop is called Counting Sheep Rug Shop. I just think this is just beautiful. You know, I can tell, I'm sorry, it's a little bit crooked. I was taking these pictures at night last night. You know, I didn't notice in the magazine, and I notice it more with this photograph, that there are some stripies in the background, and I like that. You know, these kinds of stripes with these kinds of cards like this, it's very emblematic, isn't it? The message is just Christmas greetings with lots of holly and Christmas roses, but the striping always reminds me of candy boxes for some reason. There must be some, you know, ingrained branding in my brain of something that we had that had stripies on it like that. And it's almost the same color too. It reads much better in this photo. I just think it's a lovely piece, and I agree. It's nostalgic, it's timeless. It does look like a postcard too. It's got all of those nice little tropes going on. The beautiful font, the lovely letter C and G. I mean, it's just a beautifully done piece. And color-wise, it's very mellow, isn't it? Jacob was talking about this in the video that he did while I was away in Concord about making the wreath out of the leftover sweater. You know, we cut up sweaters to hook with, and then I always have these weird leftover parts to them, like the cuffs and the plackets and the yokes and all the ribbed parts and stuff. And he cut all those up and was making these wreaths. And he was saying that the one that he liked the most was the one that was the really mellow colors. Now, for me, I really like the screaming red, the screaming green with a little bit of pink for the 1950s. But like he prefers those mellow colors, like the aubergine with the forest green and gold, more sort of antique colors, and that's more the color palette of this rug. So that makes sense to me. And to be honest, until that conversation, I never really thought about this color palette as being different. And of course it is different. It's a way more mellow palette. Really, really pretty image. Now, this comes up a little bit later in the issue. This is a section called Finally Finished. Can you identify with that? ATHA 9 region, so region 9 by Joan McNeese of Kingwood, Texas. And this is the Stash Sisters chapter. So this feature is called Finally Finished. And Joan writes, the COVID years were very productive for me. I'm a small rug hooker, and for the first time I was attracted to the creative possibilities of a large rug, not one, but two. The first one I tackled is a Catherine Stephen rug called Navajo. I have seen many variations of hooking on this. As always, I wanted to hook something that reflects my interest in textiles from all of the places I have lived. Texas, my home, California, North Carolina, Portland, Oregon, Illinois, Denver, Florence, Italy, that is, not Florence, Massachusetts, Singapore, Malaysia, New Mexico. Wow. I am an expert at packing, I bet. So this is the one that's called Navajo, and the border and diamonds were the first thing that she hooked. And this is the vision that would set it apart from the other rugs that she's seen. Hold on, the border and diamonds were the first thing that were hooked, and this is the vision that would set it apart from the other rugs I've seen. Of the same pattern, I get it. The pattern comes to you with a near blank canvas except the squiggly lines. Okay, so you see there is a bit of a marble cake aspect in the background of it. This really is a lovely pattern. I'm kind of looking at this for the first time because I was racing through prepping this episode last night. You know, this is a really, you cannot call this a hit or miss pattern, right? Because for a large rug, the background is going to be formidable. I'm looking for the measurements on this. Wait a minute. 26 by 61. So, yeah. Oh, this is not Navajo. This is not Navajo. This is Kaleidoscope. We'll come to Navajo in a minute. I was going to say, I'm not seeing a lot of Native American lore here. Okay, this is Kaleidoscope. So they're showing them in reverse in the article. But that's okay. So this is Kaleidoscope, and this is a pattern by Barb Carroll from the Woolly Fox. So Kaleidoscope is 48 by 55. Let's talk about this one first, and then let's look at Navajo together. So this is an interesting pattern because there's a neat balance of hit or miss possibilities and kind of slugging it through large background fills. So the hit or miss star is obviously the main motif and the focal point, and that is done in kind of camouflage colors here, rosy camouflage. I always love this palette. And the four hearts on the corners, I think amazingly great. I love how, if you look closely, well, there is that lovely diamond inside the circle border. And because of the kind of fusion of colors, because they are completely different colors, the straw color and the celery color, but because they are similar in tonal value, they kind of bleed into each other. And that is a nice optical illusion. That is a nice soft illusion. That's something that my friend Mary Jo Taylor uses a lot. We're going to see one of her rugs later in this issue. So interesting. This features four stars. If you see, they are the sort of dove gray color, mottled color, in the inner square's corner. And I think that looks really nice too, because that's really mimicking the cutout diamonds inside the circles that are going around. There's a lot of like colors. So there's a lot of repetition of color, and it still remains what feels to me like a quite colorful rug. I love the punchy squiggles, right, that do the camo motifs. They are fantastic. And you have to love a good postage stamp border, particularly for me when it is very irregular. I mean, that's my favorite kind of a border. I love a good postage stamp, and I love when it's not when it's a little bit wonky, because it feels so folky to me and it feels like an antique rug. This to me really feels like an antique rug. If it wasn't for the central motifs, I'd be looking at it a couple times and trying to suss it out. But we know who made it. We know it's now. There is a marble cake fill in the background that's kind of the greens, the celery greens, light greens, kind of a whole gamut of the lighter greens, but different enough from each other to create a lot of interest in that background. It is a moving background. It is a fuzzy background. If this were your TV, you'd be getting up to turn the knob, wouldn't you? Right? It's so cool. So Jay's saying the Facebook group is not private, so that is good information. I love that image, and this is also another one by Joan McNeese. This is Navajo. So this piece is, what do we say, 26 by 61. This is like a runner. And this is interesting too, and she's saying that she hooked, what did she say? She hooked first with this one. Navajo, I've seen many variations. As always, I wanted to hook something that reflects, okay. The border and diamonds were the first thing that she hooked. Border and diamonds. Okay, I see. So that's interesting. And the question comes up a lot for in beginners classes and stuff. What do I hook first? And I always say, hey, if you're like Ryan in Texas, home on a sick day right now, and you are one of the great puzzle makers of the world, you might hook the border first. A lot of people do. But you don't have to. It doesn't work like needlepoint, does it? Where if you hook it in the wrong order, you get this crazy diagonal twist that it's hard to come back from. It doesn't work like that. Hook it. I always hook what color I like the most. Sometimes if I'm feeling brave or courage with a cocktail kind of thing, I hook the thing that daunts me the most, like a face. It's always different from thing to thing. So it's interesting to know that Joan hooked the border and the diamonds first. Those are great anchors for this piece, aren't they, right? Because once you have those two things, and if you see, they're kind of similar. Like they're the shades of blue with that light gray line alternating. So those are the same color palettes. Those are the same colors. So she established that, and I think she probably felt at that point, all right, time to go crazy with like the Indian corn colors and all the Santa Fe colors. Do I want to make the hearts literal? Do I want to do something like this? I'm really glad that she did something like this. This almost looks like a saddle blanket or something like that. Remember all those episodes we did on the Navajo rug? Like the first Navajo rugs and the first no, come on, what are they called? Like the little things that they set up all over the West, right? Like trading posts, all of the little posts with all the different rug designs that were unique to each brand. Interesting, right? Good morning, cats. I love that. So this is another great piece, and this does have more of a hit or miss feel to it, doesn't it? because you can blast, and there is some matchy match going on, right? Because if you look from the center, north south, you can see there is repetition of color. I think my photo of it isn't great, but it is like true repetition of color. So in that regard, it has been thought out. It's not like it moves from bar to bar like a what quilters would call a row by row quilt, right? Where you just do one row and then you do the next, you do the next, and they don't necessarily have any relationship to the one before or to each other. This is not one of those. In design it is, but in execution it's not. So if you were, it makes me wonder, because I don't think I've seen this pattern before, and it does make me wonder, like Joan saying she's seen this done many times, and she's doing it quite differently in this example, her example. I'm thinking like, if I were to do this, I might handle it like a quilter's row by row and just say, guess what, starting at the top, starting with that one little blank row, I'm going to do what I do and work my way down. And it would be, as you can imagine, a very different looking rug, wouldn't it? If you did that and you did not have any sort of thought, or you were not tethered by any feeling of matching or coordinating or balancing, right? That would be a very different project indeed, and it would be a lot of fun to do. Next article I'm looking at, because I am skipping a lot, Judy Songz, Songz, if this is a German name, so it's a hard one, but at least this word in German I think is pronounced Songa. I'm not sure how she pronounces it, so I'm sorry about that if it's wrong. Judy Songz, Family and Home Rugs. This is ATHA, region number 9. And she is in Yoakum, Texas. And this is an extraordinary spread. This is a gallery of Judy's rugs, and I really felt this feature, because I love all of the rugs she's doing. They're very family oriented. They're storytelling rugs, and I thought that they were all extraordinary. So the one we're looking at now is called A New Home in a New Land. It's making me think of, what is it making me think of? Strangers with empty hands. That's it. Sigh for exotic lands. That's your name that tune for today. Dave's not on because I know he would get that right away. Anyway, beautiful scene of immigrants arriving, probably at Ellis Island, something like that, maybe on the West Coast, maybe in California. But in any case, absolutely beautiful. A new home in a new land, hooked and designed by Judy. Judy's husband was a first-generation American. This story rug shows his family coming to the U.S. from Germany. His grandfather and grandmother are on the boat with their children, and his dad is shown sitting on the trunk. Whew, that feels heavy. I don't know why that feels heavy. It's just a beautiful sentiment, isn't it? A new home in a new land, port of Galveston, Texas, so probably coming into the West Coast, Siegen, Westphalia, Germany, Sonka, 1912, and then through 2000. Absolutely beautiful, and in the border there's a little Texas motif, right? Isn't that beautiful? I mean, this really is a gorgeous rug. It's like something haunting about having all these characters facing away and looking at what they're coming toward, and something that's a real tearjerker for me about them having everything with them in that trunk and on their bodies. All those people. Absolutely love this piece. It is such a beautiful story rug. I really feel that the text is furthering this piece too, because of course without it, because of the costumes, you are getting a feel for what the subject might be. I like that yellow light, right? The yellow of like friendship and hope on the horizon. I don't know if that's symbolic, but it is working beautifully, and having that beautiful bar of light right in the middle of the composition, breaking it in half. I'm usually not a fan of that, but in this case, I love symbolically. I love how the family is grouped very close together in the bottom half of the composition, and in the top half composition, it's a very gentle and hopeful and beautiful sky, which feels like it represents hopefully the future. It's just a beautiful piece, absolutely beautiful. And there's a bunch in this article, and I'm not showing all of them because of spoiler alerts. This is one that's called The House That Love Built, hooked and designed by Judy. All of these are. This is the most recent story rug that Judy's hooked and was done for her son and his wife. The rug shows the guest house that they lived in while their big house was being built. The big house was designed by Judy's husband, Charles, and put on computer by our granddaughter, Darby Hale, an interior designer. Okay, I get it. The sign of the barn is from a lumber company started by my father. My two sons now own the business. A Leap of Faith. Oh, the name of the business is A Leap of Faith. Great grandfather, not great great grandfather. The big red barn in the back displays an antique sign from a business that her father started, and it is still in the family, and that is J. Lee Fawcett Lumber Company, now called Songa Do-It Center. Ah, this is so cool. There's a lot packed into this image-wise. I just love the way that this rug, the composition lays. I love that on a diagonal in the bottom right, we have the path leading us into the house. And then we're seeing the sort of sequence of houses and all of the symbolism, all of the family business symbolism in there. Do you notice that she's doing clouds the same way? Isn't that cool? It's so neat when you find an artist who does a certain motif always the same way. So yeah, this is one of those. And yeah, I love it. I really love it. And here she is. So this is a photo of Judy by Ron Travis. Really beautiful. I should have showed this first. In the article, you'll see, if you have this article, there's a lot of rugs in it. She's got rugs all over the place. This is just a very inspiring spread to look at because of the number of rugs that she lives with. This is another one that I thought was really, really pretty. So, wait a minute. A Leap of Faith. Yep, this is it. A Leap of Faith, designed and hooked by Judy, 32¼ by 49. A story rug about Judy's family shows her great-great-grandfather who came to Texas in the 1880s as a missionary. He was trained at a seminary in Switzerland and came to the States via ship. He was met at the Texas train station by a man who directed him to load his belongings onto a wagon. He then told Judy's great-great-grandfather to go to his house. The mule will know the way. Oh man, this is turning into a tearjerker. And as the story goes, the mule did know the way. Okay, that's a bit of a tearjerker. So what a beautiful story. So she's, it's got cold in here, didn't it? Maybe put the heater on.
It's loud.
Well, tell us if the heater is too loud, if we put it on. It makes this loud hum. I absolutely love everything about this piece. I'm looking at the border first because it's a bit of a hit or miss border, but it does have a directional hooking feel to it. Beautiful red border, kind of like an Indian red, isn't it, if I'm allowed to say that these days. And then lots of symbols, like I'm seeing the medic symbol, I'm seeing the Maltese cross, I'm seeing animals, I'm seeing fish. That's got to be for church and religion. I think I see an anchor. There's all kinds of little motifs happening here, and they are all lovely. So she's telling the story from top to bottom, Persian art style. St. Christopher's, what does that say? Oh, that's a town in Switzerland. All right, I'm probably not going to make that out. Oberkalm. That's okay. So that's Switzerland in the distance. So she's telling the story as if it was a piece of Persian art. So we're supposed to read it from top to bottom, and we're first looking at what has to be the Swiss Alps, and then looking down at the journey to Texas of the great-great-grandfather. And here comes Reverend Jacob Casper to the frontier of Texas in 1868. And the man meets them, gives them the mule, and the mule goes to the house. The man said, "How will I know the way? Don't worry, the mule will know." Isn't this beautiful? Kinder, is that your mule? Kinder, is that your mule? Ja. Oh, okay, I see. This is German. Child, is that your mule? Ja. The children said, Jacob said, then this must be place. How sweet is that? It's in broken English, right? That is absolutely beautiful. I love that rug. So again, there are lots of photos of Judy's house here, and there are some spectacular rugs. I think I might have another. Let me see. Let me come back over to you here. I always go so slow in these episodes, right? I have to drink everything in because I look with you. I don't look beforehand. This rug is called Love is Sweet. But oh, how bitter to love a girl and Bob McGitt her. Okay, so that's got to be a joke, right? Oh, what did I miss, Ryan? Looks like she adds the state in every piece. Very cute that she's clearly proud of her home state. Isn't it? It really is, Ryan. And since you're from there, too, you can really appreciate it. I love that, too. I love that. I think that's amazing. It's part of her story. It's a huge part of her story. Personal, meaningful. Hey, Carol. Hooked pieces. Yeah, me too. This is my favorite category of rug for sure. So, designed and hooked by Judy, the story rug commemorates a poem written by Judy's grandfather. He was courting a young woman who was also being courted by another man named Bob McWilliams. Bob McGet her, and it's Bob McWilliams. So, so Judy's grandfather sent the woman a poem, Love is Sweet, and oh, how bitter to love a girl and Bob McGet her. That is so cute. Of course, there was a happy ending, and he got the girl. Oh, that is good to know. The small white house was their first home, built in Texas when Texas was being settled. Chains were run through the barn door handles during the last Indian raids to protect the horses from being taken. The man in front of Judy's, oh wow, that is interesting, isn't it? The man in front of Judy's great-grandfather, who was a cooper and is shown holding barrels. Okay, the woman in the red dress, there we go, was Judy's great-grandmother, shown washing laundry in a great cast iron kettle. Interesting. Sam Houston and other dignitaries attended dances in the big brick house with the white columns. Ooh, the house was owned by Judy's great uncle, who was married to a prominent woman. Isn't it great to have this kind of family history? You know, it makes you really want to dig into your own family history, doesn't it? To be able to pull forth like these kinds of stories. This one's also by Judy, called CJ Ranch. This was Judy's first family story rug and depicts the original house built by she and her husband. There is a cactus growing in the tree. Hang on. There is a cactus growing in the tree. The rug was hooked at a camp with Jewel Marie Smith, who helped with the design and the rope border. Oh, the rope border is lovely. It was in this class that Judy met fellow rug hooker Barb Carroll. Oh, interesting. Photo is by Judy's granddaughter, Caden Rioyas, I think. Beautiful. And like I said, there's so many more rugs. Oh, I think I have one more for you. There's a lot more than I'm showing you. I'm showing you less than half in this article. So you know you have more to look forward to. More of these great story rugs. This is called the Casper family, and it's Casper with a K. Obviously done in 2009 by Judy. And it says Judy's grandfather was the son of a pastor depicted in the story rug Leap of Faith. We remember that. He was an inventor during that time that barbed wire was replacing the slick wire fencing in pastures all over the countryside. He repurposed that slick wire and began making corn shuck baskets and mule muzzles. Say that 20 times. That was the beginning of a wire works business that is still in operation 5 generations later. Isn't that fantastic? So you see the wire works, the Casper Wire Works is that barn building in the back. This is just, I think this is my favorite of these rugs. I just love the house. I love the tidiness of the house. The shading on the house is spectacular. I mean, isn't it? Because look at how much of that house is made up of windows and yellow light. And despite that loss of real estate, you know, that gives you less to work with in terms of giving the house structure and character. And despite that, the shading in the house is so phenomenal that you do get the sense of the pillars and the breakdown of the rooms and the separations of the shutters, and it's just lovely gable on top. It's not perfectly even, and that's why I love it so much. It doesn't have a lot of extra room, right, in between all the color changes and the architectural definition, but it has a little wiggle to it, which makes me love it. It makes me very attracted to it. That straight shot, that very welcoming straight shot right up to the front door, that's really meaningful. I wouldn't know where to start designing a story rug. Andrea, well, you know what? That's something that we need to talk about. Oh, I wish Jacob was in here. I want him to hand me that thing over there. I did a great story rug yesterday. I was not in a great mood. Let me just jump up and get it. I think like there's and I want to talk about this, and maybe we should do a class that revolves around this. Let me grab my story rug and not knock down the computer. Let me see. So this is a pattern that I'll probably put out soon as I refine it, because I just drew it yesterday. But I was feeling like a bit of a dumpster fire, which is just like an ongoing theme. And I did a picture of a dumpster fire that I want to hook, and I put the text on it, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to incorporate the text into the rug, because I would like to include the text. I wrote a little bit of poetry here. It's not Keats by any means, but it says, when everything's dark as the soot in the city, your fire can glow so surprisingly pretty. It's not great. It's not great. But I did a nice dumpster fire. I'll tell you what, it worked as good as any meds I've ever had. It's just a, I guess my point is with stuff like story rugs, the way that Judy's handling story rugs is she's looking at our family history and she's documenting it, and she's creating stories that parallel the family story. So like Centennial, Richard Chamberlain scale rugs, like really lovely, really epic. And that's one way that you can approach, right? And the other way that you can approach is like in little bite-sized bits. That's like more the way that I approach, and thinking like, should I lay down and cry or should I work on a design? So I work on a design like that, and I think, okay, good. That was kind of like something on a par with like a diary entry, made me feel better, and probably when I hook that, I'll feel better again, yet again, because out of the dumpsters, I'm going to make like a rainbow fire. It's not just going to be any fire; it's going to be a rainbow fire, and it's going to have like metallic, novelty stuff. Thanks, Robin. So yeah, I mean, you can handle it any way. It's like your story rug. It doesn't have to be the story of your life. Sometimes that's too big, right? And it's overwhelming. It can just be the story of the last 5 minutes, and whatever it is, something you just saw when you were taking a walk or a drive, or something you're looking forward to, something you dreamed. I mean, it doesn't have to have a massive weighted story behind it. It could just be a little blip on the radar kind of a thing that spoke to you. And this is really something that I've been talking about, and I mean to do it. In 2023, I do really want to talk more about story rugs. Maybe I should start putting a class together with that in mind. Maybe it should be an ongoing class too. Maybe it should be like a monthly class. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe we'll do like a monthly class, and I'll keep the price super low, and we could just log on and talk about stories if we want to, listen to stories. Ooh, this could be good, and talk about how to, for example, someone logs on. It's, I'm not even going to give a name because somebody will have that name, and then you're going to think I'm like talking about you. Somebody logs on and says, well, I would like to do a story about like my great grandmother and how she worked at the button factory, and how can we do it? And then maybe we could brainstorm how to do it. And while we're brainstorming and stuff, I could work on some sketch ideas and have some sketch ideas ready for frames and devices and tricks that you can use to break up your composition. So you're just literally populating it instead of looking blankly at a blank canvas. That could work really well for us because it could be part talking, part sharing according to your comfort level, and part composition, part getting stuff done. And then if we did it on a regular basis, we could check in with each other from time to time and say, how's it going with the button factory? You got the building done yet? How'd the door work out? That kind of thing. That could be really fun. Bob says, I watch a lot of artist videos, gives you ideas, and yeah, there's so much to watch out there. It is a lot of inspiration, right? Interesting. Something to think about. I really do want to think about that. And certainly, like, this article by Judy gives me a nudge. And this is some of her pieces are more epic than others. Candace, I agree. I want to do a rug for my husband about his grandfather's truck. Oh, see, that is so that just the word grandfather truck is like super evocative. It's good to get your stories out there, and the more I think about like filling in patterns, and of course that's a stupid thing for me to say because I have a rug hooking company and I sell patterns and that's how I pay bills. But the more I think about it, like I really, for everybody who wants to start doing original designs, I mean, that's why I do the Design Like series, but also just completely your own rugs made of your own ideas and your own stories. I really want to make that possible because those are the, like we're saying, right? And like Carol just said, her favorite rugs are my favorite rugs too. I love a story rug. Even when it's technically not the best rug, who cares? I usually love it more for not being the best technical rug. But it's something that we should think about in the new year because this being a folk art, right? Unless you are a very, very technical person, a big part of rug making for you is how it feels and the tactile nature of this craft and how you connect to your project while you're doing it, because you're going to do it for a while. Unless it's a very small piece, you're going to spend a lot of time with the project. You might as well spend time with the project where your brain is going and thinking. You're following thoughts through, resolving thoughts, right? So, I mean, just the idea of creating rugs of your own invention, your own idea, and just getting little pushes and sometimes little tweaks from other people who chime in and brainstorm. I would do it this way, or have you thought of this? You know, I'm always there to do that in the nicest way. I never ever want to do that in a pushy way, and I love to be wrong. So, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. I'll plan that. So, Judy's article, let's go a little bit further and then we will stop, and I'll probably pick this up again on Monday because what was I thinking that we'd do all this in one episode. So, this is the next drug I want to show is the article I'm looking at is called Folk Art Houses, and this comes from ATHA Region Number 9, Linda Peets of Needville, Texas. Hold on just a second while I recenter. There we go. All right. So, folk art houses, Linda Peets. I first taught designing folk art houses at the Denver ATHA Biennial in 2019, last year for State Line Guild, and this summer for the Big Muddy Guild. It was fun to see some of the finished houses displayed at this year's ATHA Kansas City Biennial. I am sending photos of my original sample, which was my house in California and my present house in Texas. I encourage students to hook more than just a folk art version of their house, but to incorporate stories into their design. That's a great idea. Some students designed a special building rather than their house. One of my favorites from Big Muddy was an historic stable. So interesting. So there's no text on these two houses, but I can see what she's saying, right? There is some storytelling going on here because in this picture, we see a beautiful, what looks like a blue bird up on the roof. We see the house that she's describing as the house in Texas, which was my original. Maybe no, this is California. I think this is California. The beautiful big architectural star that we see on the houses, right? The ramp leading up to it, and outside on the front lawn there is an interaction taking place between a cat and a skunk. That must be a story. Wonder how that ended. Probably in a bath of tomato juice, right? And there's also a turkey in the yard. That's probably another story. And you can see the antlers on a deer coming into the composition. So you see she's more than showing you the house. She's putting some elements into the house that are parts of stories that she knows and the family knows and jokes, right? And here we have possum up, two possums, I guess. One up on the roof and an armadillo down on the ground. Some beautiful, like color changing, what looks like novelty yarn there. I love the black and white fabric that makes up the path leading into the house and then the maybe gravelly side yard. That's real pretty. Love the shape of the tree here too. So that's a nicey. And let's do at least one more, and then we're going to stop and we'll leave the rest because the whole issue is about houses. So it's not like I'm going to exhaust this subject and say, okay, well, let's take a break here. The whole issue is houses, and I'm on page 33 out of 82. So although I don't hit everything, I haven't made great progress in this episode, but it's been fun. So let's end on this one. This is another ATHA Region Number 7 Kauffmans Farm, and this is by Joyce Kruger of Waukesha, Wisconsin, the Cream City chapter. And this is 30.5 by 37 on monk's cloth using number 3 cut wool strips. Also, she specifies having used both new and recycled wool. I love to hear that. I started this rug with Marjorie Judson at Sandy Lake Rug Camp in Sandy Lake, Pennsylvania. It was one of the first rug camps I attended. What a learning experience. I started this piece as a memory rug of the farm I grew up on and gave it to my parents for their 50th wedding anniversary in 1993. After my dad passed away, my mother kept it hanging as she moved through different stages in her life. Mom passed away in 2019 at the age of 98. Still remembering the farm. Oh, man. That is beautiful. This is just a beautiful piece. What I love about this piece is the God's eye view. I always love a good God's eye view. Looking down, it gives you permission to not have a care about perspective, right? And lifting the obligation of having accurate perspective is one of the joys of folk art, and it's one of the signature features of folk art that is not part of the conversation. So looking down from the sky, a weird angle, but a very sort of complete angle. Because if you look on the right, you can see the pens of the animals and the barn part of the operation. In the middle, you see where everything connects and how the garden relates in terms of location to the other outbuildings in the main house. You can see where the tractor parks, where the kids ride their bikes, where the animals play, where the important trees are, where the fruit trees are. I mean, it's just a lovely composition. I love seeing that squared out pen with the animals on the right, and I love seeing the squared out garden plot on the left. And you can even make out what is growing in the garden. So this is just an amazing piece. It's just a beautiful piece. I like the sky too. I like that there's not because I mean, doing this in a number 3 cut, that's a really fine cut, isn't it? I mean, I don't touch a number 3 cut myself. This is a number 3 cut, but it is done in a very graphic way. We don't see that often, right? People usually choose to use a number 3 cut and all that comes with it in its infinite fineness and grandness to do detail. But in this case, it has been done in a very graphic, very folky way with that fine cut, and I think that's extraordinary. It's a very, very different piece. It is a beautiful piece, and I love the way that the sky is portioned out, and that there isn't that the urge to shade right up into a realistic sky has not happened, because that would, for me, really take away from what is on the ground, right? It has a bit of a Charles Wysocki feel for me, just looking very flatly at the way things are divided out. So I really love this piece. Again, Joyce Kruger from Waukesha, Wisconsin, the Cream City chapter. So maybe we'll leave it there. I think I'm ready for a coffee and ready for a transition. I got some orders going on here. I'm just excessively tired. Maybe it's just the season or what. Now the heat is blasting. I can complain about anything, right? So on Friday, I'm going to be looking at holiday rugs, and I'm going to be looking at, as I said before, like holiday imagery and all of the different icons and motifs that we associate with the holiday season, where they come from, right? It's a bit of a history-driven episode. So it's going to be one of our typical Friday night history type nights, looking at ideas, looking at images, but mostly historical context, and why do we use Christmas trees and bells and the Krampus character, right, the Red Devil character, and all of these different things from different places. Why do we use these in imagery when we're designing for the holidays, right? So it'll be less about rugs as it will be about design, imagery, and history. So it'll be one of these cozy episodes for us. We did this in October with Thanksgiving. I didn't do this in November. I don't know why. I was just, my brain wasn't on, I guess. But we're going to certainly do it for December and all the holidays that we are standing on the threshold of, with one foot on a banana peel and the other one really in the new year. So we'll do that on Friday. And questions about gallery night, we will do gallery night the next Friday. So yes, I was just thinking, yes, okay, good. Whew. I was worrying about Teddy's birthday. My son Teddy's birthday is on Saturday. I was starting to panic about that. So the next Friday night, not this one, right? This is one of our cozy nights, this coming Friday. That's the next time that I will see you. And the following Friday, we will do our gallery night. And many of you have been sending me images for gallery night. Everything is just super, super lovely. Be brave, like Andrea, and send your images. Whether you're talking about drawings and stuff like this, this is fine to send, because we can talk about it. We can talk about color and the way your drawings are evolving. Whatever you're doing that's important to you right now, we want to talk about it too. We want to share in that too. So go ahead and send all that stuff. So I will see you on Friday for cocktail night, and that is at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, and if you want to send me stuff in the meantime that I can use in gallery night, and I hope that you do, that will be at 2. Send it to ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. Um, I think that's all for now. I'm going to be putting up in a little while this month's Design Like class, which will be for January, and that will be designing like, and I still haven't decided on the title, but Celtic art, right? Like the Book of Kells, Celtic manuscripts, not work. Thinking of an umbrella term for all of that, but that's what the theme for the next Design Like class will be, which I think will be perfect for the new year because we're going to incorporate some of the designing we do in class together with a little bit of text that you write. You'll be prompted to do very simple writing like, when everything is dark is to sit in the city, like stuff like this, right? Not like, not a sestina, right? Simple. And incorporating it into your sort of Celtic looking and feeling piece. So that's coming up in January. And I'm going to put something on the calendar too for creating story rugs. I'm going to do that too. Kirsten, I'll probably call you and want to brainstorm about that. So I will see you all hopefully on Friday for cocktail night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. In the meantime, you can reach me there. Check out the store, right? Check out the store. This is an expensive month here, particularly with the heating bill yesterday, which is one of the reasons I was crying and had to make the dumpster fire. Ribboncandyhooking.com, right? There's lots of good stuff happening there. So I will check in with you Friday for more good